Hello, and welcome to Travelin. My name's Eli, and today I'm going to teach you how to play my game. Travelin is for 2 to 5 players for ages 10 and up, and lasting approximately 10 minutes per player per game. In Travelin, you're obviously a traveler, and you're trying to gain the most points by traveling from country to country. And the game ends once one person reaches 5 countries. Travelin is a card game, so let's look at the 3 types of cards available in the game. So, in Travelin, there are 3 types of cards: action cards, special cards, and country cards. They're easily identified by the icons in the top left corner. So, an action card has a blue arrow icon, a special card has a red map marker icon, and a country card has a yellow circle with a number inside. And we're going to look at all of these in closer detail, starting with the action cards. On the action cards, what you'll notice is obviously the icon, the name of the card, and down here is the meat of the action. What happens when you play this card? Some examples would be a blizzard, which would stop other players from reaching a new country until your next turn. Postcards, which would add more points to your total, and remember that having the most points is how you win the game. Or if you wanted to attack someone, a sketchy taxi driver would allow you to steal 2 cards from them. The special cards act in a slightly different way. Whereas action cards are only played on your turn, special cards are in reaction to game events. So, border control would be used if someone was traveling to a new country and you wanted to stop them. You could play this immediately to stop their progress and they would not be able to reach a new country. In a similar vein, if someone tried to stop you from reaching a new country or tried to attack you in any way, you could play diplomatic immunity to stop that action against you. Last but not least are the country cards. And if you look at them, you'll see the top left corner has a circle with a number inside. That number is how many points each country is worth. In addition to the points and the name of the country, you'll also see down here in this section either an action or a special ability. And this tells you how this country can be used during the course of the game. It's worth noting that the red special cards can be extremely valuable. A card like Diplomatic Immunity, which allows you to stop any player's attack against you, could be used, say, when you're trying to reach your 5th country to end the game and subsequently win the game. There are fewer special cards in the game than action or country cards, but just keep in mind that they are valuable and they should be used wisely. If you're looking in the box, you've probably also found some maps. These maps are useful in figuring out how to move from country to country. Let's take a closer look at that. So, you know that the player that reaches 5 countries ends the game, and then the points are counted to see who's the winner. But how do you move between countries? The way it's done is by crossing borders. We're going to assume that we're starting in Portugal. So, to cross from Portugal to Spain, you need to cross one border. There are 3 action cards specifically for moving between countries: bus, train, and an airplane. A bus allows you to cross exactly one border. A train allows you to cross 1 or 2 borders, and an airplane allows you to cross as many borders as you want. So, if it was your turn, you're in Portugal, you could play a bus to move from Portugal to Spain. In a similar manner, you could play a train to either go to Spain or to France. Trains and buses can also be combined. So if, let's say, you wanted to go from Portugal to Luxembourg, that's 1, 2, 3 borders to cross, so you need a bus and a train, or 3 buses to get there. And of course, with an airplane, you could travel between the countries just using that single card. Okay, you pretty much know all the important concepts for how to play Travelin. The next thing to do is to actually set up a game and get started. The very first thing to do, like with any card game, is to shuffle the cards. Make sure to shuffle them well. Deal each player 8 cards. In this example, we're going to be playing a 2-player game, so each of us has 8 cards. In addition, make sure there's easy access to a map for each player. Lastly, turn over 3 cards from the deck. These 3 cards will be the common cards. You have the drawing deck, and leave space over here for an eventual discard pile. Now each player will pick up their hand and select one country from their hand and place it face down on the table. This is going to be their starting point. Once both players have placed their country face down, both are revealed, and the player with the lowest number of points will start the game. I have 3 points, which means I'll be the first player. In the case of a tie, the player that was born furthest away from where you're physically playing the game will take the first turn. Let's say I had a 3-point country, and my opponent had a 3-point country. I was born in the United States, my opponent was born in Romania, and we're playing the game in Budapest. I would go first because I'm from further away. Setup is complete, and now we're ready to start playing. As previously noted, I'll be the first player, and each player's turn will follow the same structure. There will be a draw phase, an action phase, and a discard phase. When it's your turn to act, the first thing to do is to draw cards and add them to your hand. The good news is there's plenty of options for drawing the cards. You can either draw 2 cards from the top of the deck or one of the visible cards. There's these 3 cards, which are the common cards, and in the future there will be a pile of cards here, which are the discards. If you take one of the common cards, it's immediately replaced by the top card from the deck. The general rule is to take 2 cards that you don't see or 1 card that you do see. After you've finished drawing, play moves to the action phase. If at any point in the game you run out of cards in the draw deck, simply turn the discard pile over, shuffle them, and that becomes your new draw deck. The action phase is where most of the game will actually happen. We've already drawn, so now we get to explore what we can do during the action phase of our turn. If you look at this hand, all of the cards with this action symbol are action cards, as previously mentioned, and this is the time when you can use them. Every time you use a card, it'll go into the discard pile. So let's say we use ATM, which would allow us to draw 3 cards from the deck and add it to our hand. Or another option would be to play Sketchy Taxi Driver, which allows us to steal 2 cards from our opponent. Or Postcards, which adds 1 point per country that you have down in front of you. In addition to the action cards, you may remember that some of the countries also have actions. You can use a country's action by turning it upside down, and that shows that it's already been used. Each ability can only be used once per game. In this case, Austria's ability is to look at the top 5 cards of the discard and take 1, but there's no discards, so there's no sense in using it now. Let's just do a simple action. Let's use a train to cross 2 borders and go from Austria to Belgium. After the action phase, the last thing you need to do in your turn is discard. You can discard any card from your hand, actions, country, or special, but you have to do it every turn. For this turn, we're simply going to discard Portugal, and that ends our turn. For each turn, you'll have 1 action to begin with, but certain cards will allow you to chain actions together and gain more actions. So in a single turn, you could actually have multiple actions. I'm going to be playing the hand of my opponent, and to start off, we're going to draw some cards. We're going to take 2 cards from the deck, and now we have an action. Our action is going to be to play Hustle Life, which gives another 2 cards from the deck, plus another action. Draw 2 cards, and for our action, we're going to take 2 buses from Montenegro to Slovenia. And the last thing to do is simply to discard. And we're going to discard Luxembourg. We've completed the first couple turns, and now we're going to finish the game. When we come back, we'll talk about scoring and how to determine who wins. So we've finished the game. I was able to end the game by reaching a 5th country. And now it's time to count the points. We'll start with my opponent. At 7 points from Montenegro, plus 4 is 11 points, plus 1 is 12 points. In addition, my opponent had a kitschy souvenir, which is going to add another 5 points, so that goes to 17, and the golden passport, which adds another 5 points, so that's 22. My total was 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 4 is 13, plus 7 is 20, and plus 4 is 24, plus an additional 5 for completing the game, which is 29, and minus 5 for this bad kebab, so 24, which means that I won the game by 2 points. And that's Travelin. We've played the entire game. You know exactly how everything works, you know how to score, and you're ready to play. If you have any questions about the rules or comments about the game, feel free to reach out on Facebook, Twitter, email, or our site, www.trvln.com. Thanks for watching.